Tell me what's good, tell me what's nice. Keeping it cool, keeping it calm, keeping it light. Time to rejoice. What's good, what's good, what's good with John and Joyce.
We're ready to go.
All right.
I am so excited. We've been doing this for about a year now, a little bit more than a year. Joyce, our podcast, What's Good with John and Joyce, trying to bring good news to the world. There's so much negativity out there. We don't talk politics. We keep it positive. It's just upbeat. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Woodwinds Wedding and Special Events Venue and Silvio Sauces, thewoodwinds.com. Ascend Bank. They don't just see your accounts, they see your vision and ambitions. Ascend.bank. Moonshots, a vegan-based company that delivers the highest quality organic juices, coffee, bowls, and so much more. DrinkMoonshots.com. Linda Toscano of Caldwell Banker Realty in Guilford, Connecticut. With over 17 years of experience, Linda is known for her authentic, client-focused approach and expert guidance for buyers and sellers. Now, if you're thinking about making a move, Linda Toscano is someone you can trust. We're deeply grateful to all of our sponsors for their support and for partnering with us to uplift and enrich the lives of our listeners and viewers. And we have a gentleman on that you've known for a long, long time. We're going to get that in a few bit, but he's from Colorado.
No, he's from Connecticut.
But I said Colorado now, but he grew up in Wallingford, right?
Hey, wait, that kind of right. Connecticut to Colorado.
Connecticut to Colorado. It
Yeah.
sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Is that why we were wearing earphones?
We're wearing. I'm so used to this being in the radio broadcast business, but we're trying this new technology that we haven't used before. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
And we got a perfect person because he's got a great temperament for our maiden voyage. And let me tell you a little bit about this guest,
Tell
all right?
us about him.
All right, here we go. Michael Buckley is an internet pioneer, best-selling author, certified master life coach, comedian, and one of the original breakout stars of YouTube. Best known for his wildly popular and hilarious blog, What the Buck? Michael built a massive global following by sharing his sharp, funny, and unforgettable takes on pop culture and celebrity news. Now, at the height of his online success, his channel attracted millions of viewers each month and shattered YouTube records, with multiple videos landing in the platform's top 10 most viewed list in a single week. Michael's influence reached far beyond YouTube, earning recognition from major media outlets, including the New York Times, for his role in shaping internet entertainment and entrepreneurship. He also won a YouTube award for Best Commentary for his viral video, Lonely Girl 15 is Dead, and became a fan favorite nationwide when he won Kelly Ripa's Coast to Coast co-host search, leading to a guest co-hosting appearance alongside Kelly in 2012. I mean,
That's
how cool
amazing.
is that?
I watched that, yes.
And today, Michael continues inspiring audiences with humor, honesty, insight, and encouragement. Lord knows we need more of that nowadays. Helping others navigate life, reinvention, and success with authenticity and heart. Welcome, 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 Michael Buckley to What's Good with John and Joyce.
Well, thank you.
What the buck is here?
What the buck? What
Thank
the
you for that
buck?
rousing introduction. I'm always listening, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, that sounds good. That guy sounds interesting.
He is. We can't wait to hear
Yes.
more from you. This is
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you. I came to talk about
Michael.
politics. I'm just kidding. I got the wrong memo.
That's right. Yeah.
So, Michael, I have to share a story with you. This is how I came to know that what you were doing. I went to Oakdale, and by the way, Michael and I both worked at the same theater at different times.
The Toyota Oakdale Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut.
Yes. So I knew my dear friend, Randy MacArthur, was the general manager, and you worked, I think, directly with Randy.
I was
right?
his executive assistant. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I came in there before Christmas, and I would usually bring Randy Buttercrunch candy, which he loved. Jim Bozzi loved it also. Mrs. K.
Who doesn't love your Buttercrunch candy? Jeez.
Thank you. You remember Mrs.
Oh,
K?
Marion Kay, I was her favorite.
Yes.
She'd call me Love
I know
Cake.
you
She'd call
were.
me Sweetie. She'd be about to throw her computer at anybody, but I'd come in and she'd be like, there's my favorite.
There's
Now, do we refer to you now as
I love cakes. She'd say,
Love
okay,
cakes.
love cakes. Okay, Sweetie. Yes.
So I came in there for the first time with candy for you. Only you weren't there. So Randy said, Joyce, you haven't heard about Michael? And I sat down because I thought you died. I didn't know what happened. I said, what happened? And he took me through this. He didn't tell me right away. He said, well, let me tell you this story. The Jonas Brothers were here.
Yes.
And he's laughing already.
He knows what's coming.
He said, and I told Michael, go up to the green room, do your thing up there. And you just stood there. And he says, no, Michael, go up to the green room. And you said to Randy, I can't go out there right now, because if I go out there, all those girls here to see the Jonas Brothers are going to kill me because and Randy's like, what are you talking about? And he said, I do this little show at home and I kind of don't say nice things about them. And when I walk out there, they're going to tear me apart. So Randy says, I got to see this. I'll walk out with you. And you said to Randy, is it okay if I put a hat on, a cap? You went back and you got a cap and you walked out. And then Randy said to me, Joyce, they didn't want to kill him. They wanted selfies with him.
Wow.
They wanted to meet him. And then the next thing I know, he said, he comes into my office at some point with your resignation and says, I make more in 1 month than I do in 1 year at Oakdale. And he told me what you made at Oakdale. And I'm like, what?
Jaws were dropping everywhere, I'm
It's like,
sure.
I was stunned because people weren't talking about podcasts then. It was a vlog. You were doing a video blog. And you were talking about what's going on, but in a honest, irreverent way.
Sassy.
And you were just sassy.
That's the way to
funny.
get attention. That's how you cut through all the noise out there.
But then I saw this other personality that I didn't know you had, because I only saw you working and just kind of flying by and, and doing stuff.
And
It's
I
like,
heard you were kind of quiet, too, in the office.
I don't know
for the
about
most
that.
part,
I don't know
right?
about that.
Relatively? Oh, no? Okay. Oh, that was a rumor. Okay, we just squelched that rumor.
Well, that's amazing. A couple things. Randy still texts me every year on my birthday. He was the best boss I ever had. I adored him.
Great guy.
I adored him.
Great guy.
And I'm so grateful for our time. It's amazing that you remember that, because I actually videoed that going outside, and the title of the video was Jonas Fans Threaten to Kill Me, which is, again, a great click. I invented clickbait before anybody was using clickbait to get attention.
Yep.
I made that video and I walked outside with my little camera, and you would think I was a rock star. They were so excited to see me. And it was amazing. And yes, I remember going into Randy's office and I was hysterical crying because I stayed as long as I could. Like, I started making money and I was like, I'll stay another like 5 or 6 months. But then it got to the point that it's like, so I walked in his office, I shut the door and I just started crying and I said, I have to go. Like, I have to go. But it was lovely. It was lovely. And the New York Post came the day it was my last day, and on the marquee it said, good luck,
wow.
Buck. And they took pictures of me, like, with all my stuff. They have a beautiful picture of me and Randy. It was such a happy, exciting time in my life.
right.
Now, you were doing all this kind of like under the radar, weren't you? It was almost like you were moonlighting because nobody had a clue of what was going on.
No
I was
idea.
very nervous that they were going to look at my computer and realize this guy's working about 2 hours a day, and you doing the rest of it. I remember in the fall of 2007, I was on the front page of the Hartford Courant, and I could just hear Jimmy and Randy and people being like, what's going on? Like, what's he doing? Like, I know he has a public access show, because I did. So since May of 2005, I was doing a public access show in Wallingford, just doing, on-camera stuff.
I saw that
Table
one. That
for
was
two,
like,
it
what was
called.
the plate? Table
And,
for two.
I used to send
Yes,
out
yes.
VHS tapes to 40 different towns. And my intention was just to get discovered, or someone, I had to get video of me to practice being on camera so I could be a host of Entertainment Tonight or something. So I was really just using the public access to try and get some footage of me. And then when my cousin started putting it on YouTube, it started getting lots of views. And then by the fall of 2007, I started making a little money. And then it really picked up pretty quickly. And then, yeah, crazy.
So was HBO the big guns that came in first?
Yeah, so I mean, I was making money in the YouTube partnership program, which was amazing and a lot more than I was making at the Oakdale. But then in the spring or summerish of 2008, HBO had a development online presence called the HBO Lab, which is where they were going to take online talent and give them opportunities to create for either TV or their online platform. So they offered me a development deal. And that was another reason I had to leave, because I was like, I just didn't have the bandwidth anymore to be an executive. I love the idea of living a double life. I really enjoyed it. I did. And I'm glad also because like when I was becoming like a famous YouTuber, I at least knew how to work 40 hours a week, whereas a lot of these kids never had real jobs. They just were suddenly making a couple $100,000 a year making internet video. So I was just glad that I did have normal jobs before I became a YouTube persona.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, was this something that you always dreamed about, like as a little kid? Were you just kind of like in your bedroom, just, fantasizing about things like this?
Like being a host.
Yeah, being a host, of a show.
Right? I did theater. I did the school play.
Yes.
I was the lead in the school play. I imagined I would go be an actor. And I wasn't very good, to be honest. I was not a great actor, a mediocre singer, a mediocre dancer. I mean, I grew up, though, where they need boys doing theater. So I would have the lead in the show. But if you look back, you're like, he's not that good. So I don't think I had a false sense of stardom. I did not study theater in college, knowing I probably wasn't going to make a go at that. And around, my mid-20s, I did miss performing, and I did see myself as someone who could break into TV hosting. I thought I had the personality, the humor, the whatever was I thought required of that. And so, I really did create my online persona, being just a caricature version of myself. I think when people would meet me, I would do YouTube events and they'd want me to be sassier or gayer than I was, because I really turned it on like being a bland presenter wasn't going to get any attention. It was having a point of view. And I noticed that too. And that's why I'm glad I'm not in that world anyway, because it's like anymore, because there is not much nuance. It's like you either have to be this or this. And so I was this and I loved it, but I knew I was playing a character, a bit of like a Stephen Colbert before Stephen Colbert was Stephen Colbert. Like he was playing a news persona because it's funny,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw myself playing a news persona, but it was a definitely amped up version of me. And then I do interviews and people would ask me what I really thought of something. And I'd be like, I don't even know, because I'm going for the joke. So like the Jonas Brothers are a perfect example of, it didn't matter if I liked their music or I was a fan of them. It was always, what's the joke? So what is funnier? Is it funnier for me to be a 35-year-old fangirl, or is it me to drag them? Like whatever, but I'm always going for the joke. That was the goal.
Yeah, yeah. So when you said that you were used to working like 40 hours a week, how much time were you putting into your show once you left?
Oh, but I will tell you, even before I left, I was spending 40 to 50 a week. So yeah.
You were.
Oh, even at the public access
Were you doing
studio, I was spending 18 hours writing. I loved the writing part.
Oh, you were
I loved the
writing.
writing part. Like I never just.
So in addition to working at the Oakdale Theater, you were working an additional. I mean, when did you sleep?
I mean, very little.
Well, you didn't.
Little. But I loved it. I was high as a kite. Like I think about the most creative I've ever been, the most excited I've ever been. I mean, it was such a labor of love. The fact that I started making money, it never occurred to me when those first YouTube videos were going up that I would make any money. And then the first month that I monetized it, I got a check for maybe $122 for millions of views. So I was thinking, this is never going to be anything. And then suddenly I remember the moment that I made $10,000 and I was like, what happened? Like just the way the ads were served changed, because when YouTube started, there weren't ads. There was banners above that weren't worth any money. And then one day they started doing the little 3/4 ads and my life changed. And now they do the pre-roll, the mid-roll, the post-roll. And that's why somebody can make a fortune based on those.
Now, Michael, let me ask you, how long did it take you from the time you started to the time you started seeing $10,000 a month and beyond?
So this is
about 2.5 years.
Yeah,
about
yeah.
2.5 years.
It was a slow roll, but boy, that's a pretty good ascension.
Because you loved what you
I
were
loved
doing.
what I was doing. I was sending out VHS clips of me to E! And to NBC and to ABC and anybody, just thinking help and then it was interesting because that first year and a half or two that I was successful, when I was on the front page of the New York Times, I remember doing interviews and I was very like, I'm good. Like because they really thought you must want to be on TV. And I'm like, if I'm making this much money, not leaving my house, I'm good. So it was, by the time I got to Live with Kelly, that's 4 years later, I was much more interested in TV. But in a way, the ship had sailed and sunk. My peak years to 8, 9, 10, 11, that's when TV wanted me and I didn't want TV. So it's interesting.
Interesting. Yes, yeah. I love that when you were on Kelly, because your fan base had to vote for you to get to that level. I was one of them.
Thank you for voting. I know I've seen and it was so lovely, and that was the easiest week of my life. To be on live TV is so easy. You walk in, they put your makeup on, they hand you a stack of papers, you walk on, and you just get to talk. So based on all the work that I had been doing for years on YouTube, hosting a TV show live was effortless and easy.
Now, what was it like working with Kelly?
The day that I was there to host, I had probably 10 people in my family with me, and I didn't want to bother her necessarily, but she was like, bring your whole family backstage. And there's so many pictures of all the people I brought with her. And I remember also being there and seeing someone who was like the lowest staff member, and in their office, it was all pictures of Kelly and Mark. And I was like, what's this? And they're like, oh, this is Kelly's Christmas party. And like just being on that set, you could see how much everybody loved her.
Yeah.
And so it's funny when you hear things in the media and then you go there and you're like, it's not like that. Like, for all the things you hear about certain celebrities, I was there for a week and I just saw how she treated people and how people treated her. And it was a really nice set to be on.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happened after that? Did your life explode in other areas?
Not at all. No, I mean, it almost felt like the end in a way. It didn't lead to anything else, to be honest. Like I said, my YouTube best years were behind me. By 2012, there were so many other YouTubers, and I had lost a lot of my steam, and I had lost a lot of my desire. And so when I got on Live with Kelly, I was really hoping that would get me to TV. And I did a round of interviews. I met with I went to LA. I went to 13 different interviews. Everybody always really liked me. I had pretty good feedback, but it didn't lead to anything. So yeah, but it was time anyway.
Yeah.
I could feel it. I felt my life needed to change. And it was interesting because in 2014, I exploded my YouTube career. I left my husband. I developed a serious drinking problem. And so it was amazing how like everything needed to all go wrong at the same time to catapult me into my next chapter.
And Michael, I've heard the saying many times that every setback is really a setup for something better.
So,
Did that happen with you?
better and different, right? Like it's interesting how my life,
Yeah.
I've been very lucky twice in my life. In my current life, very lucky in my career. And then YouTube 2008, right place, right time. One or two people really believed in me and gave me great opportunity. Believe me, there were hundreds of people who were better looking, funnier, way more qualified to be a YouTube star than I was. But I was very lucky, and I rode that as long as I could. And yeah, and then every setback, I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I clearly drinking heavily was me looking for an external solution to an internal problem.
Yeah.
And now it's all these years later. And at the time I knew what I was doing too. I knew it wouldn't be pretty. Like I didn't see me going from one thing to another without a lot of like, muscling it or really, but I loved it. I loved all my challenges. I love every version of me. I love wildly successful me, and I also love messy me. I think I love that.
And I love 9 years sober.
Yay,
too.
thank you. I'm very grateful.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations for that.
I don't think this
Yes.
version exists if I was still drinking. So, and I never drank. Like, it's amazing. For anybody listening, I didn't drink in my 20s. I basically drank heavily aged 36 to 42. And so it's amazing that I just took up alcohol. I think that's why it was easy for me to stop too, because it just wasn't a big part of my life until it was.
Right.
Well, we really do learn a lot more about ourselves from the adversity, don't we? I mean, when things are going all peachy keen, it's great and everything else, but when you really hit the bottom like you did, you really find out what you're made of.
I mean, when I'm happy and successful, good for me, life's good for me, but I'm not necessarily learning something about myself. And that's the thing, when you're in a challenging moment, and if people are listening to this and they're in a challenging moment, it's almost, you hear it, but you're like, but I'm in that messy, unsolvable, whatever part. And so it's interesting when you hear someone being like inspirational, or you hear someone on a talk show and they're like, I was at my rock bottom and look at me now. When you're in those moments, you're just like, yeah. And you think success is for other people. I think people have a very limited view of success, right? Or what a life well lived is. We tend to look at celebrities or athletes and we're like, but what is a life well lived for you? And we all have a different definition of success. I at 51 have a different definition at 44, 32, and 12. So I've also been lucky that I've adjusted my definition of success and a life well lived as I've gone.
And the thing is, Michael, money doesn't determine peace of mind, does it? I mean,
It
helps
makes
to
life
have
easier.
money. It does.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yes, it does.
but too many times people think it's going to be the end all for happiness, and it really isn't.
No, I think if
It's a
if
great
you become
tool. It's a great
wealthy,
tool.
It can exacerbate what's right. It can also exacerbate what's wrong. And a lot of times when you have a lot of money, right, you tend to ignore other things because you can easily throw money at something. And, I don't think money doesn't bring you happiness, but I know as someone who's had plenty of money and not a lot of money, it does eliminate a lot of stress and anxiety if I do have plenty of money,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So did you become a life coach before you left Connecticut?
Yes, around probably 2 years before. And coaching is such an interesting field. Like I bought a book about it in 1999 and I'd been a psych major, but I didn't want to be a therapist, but I love human potential and sports psychology and what makes people tick and high level performance stuff. So I read this book and I was like, oh man, this is for me. But I was poor at the time, and the book was basically trying to sell you into a coaching program. Here's a book, spend thousands of dollars and become a coach. So I ignored it. and I didn't think about it much. And then in 2014, 15, I noticed a gal on Facebook who I went to middle school with was a very successful coach. And so I started following her. And then I started just, following coaches and taking a lot of coach training stuff. And I loved it. And I also hired a coach, and I went to therapy 3 times. And no offense, it's not what I needed. Like, I talked to this person, and then I went to coaching, and within the first 30 minutes, I was like, this is all I needed. like I needed someone to,
you needed guidance.
To also look at me and say, you're the problem and you're the solution. So again, I'm not going to ramble about my ex-husband and my failing YouTube career and my drinking. It's like, this is all you. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Because if it's all me, I can do something about it. If I'm blaming my past for how I am, I'll talk to a 40-year-old woman and she'll mention her mother and I'll get up and I'll walk away. Because I'll be like, you're 40. At any moment between 26 and 34, you could have worked on this. But I love that you're still blaming your mother for how you are. So
I know several people like that.
Yeah, me too. And I love the fact it's all about accepting accountability, because we live in a world where we want to blame somebody else.
It's me.
It's always somebody else's. No, we have to look inward. How can I become better? What do I need to learn? Right? That's so important.
And it doesn't mean that we don't have abusive spouses, or we don't have toxic work environment, or there aren't real problems in the world. However, a lot of times, especially in our work relationships, if we do the work on ourselves for a month, by the time it's actually time to make a request to the other person, you don't need to make it, because you've done such a good job managing your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own actions and reactions. You're controlling what you can and letting go of the rest. So honestly, your relationship with everybody in your life is better because you're better.
Yeah. There you go.
That's a great point, because your whole outward life can change by the way you look at things. The way you manifest things first thing in the morning, by the way you go out into the world, and the way you think, that can change your whole life. All your circumstances.
That is the secret sauce of life.
It is, yeah.
That's
and
it.
It's also, you got to walk the walk and talk the talk. I mean, a lot of people read self-help books and they don't do anything with it, right? Because it just, and that's the difference between reading a self-help book and this is a nice idea, or actually going to therapy or going to coaching and hiring a mentor and doing really good work on yourself. And I'm never going to look at anybody and say, I figured it all out. I'm always working on myself. Even though my life right now has never been better emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, I'm still working on myself so I can always be the highest and best version of myself for the people that I'm serving, but mostly for myself.
Hey, Joyce, this has been so much fun hanging out with Michael Buckley, your friend from the old days up here at the Oakdale Theater.
And how he's like him.
He's done so well. He's helped so many people, and just, the world alike. And we really appreciate it. But we're out of time now.
Yeah,
so,
so
Michael, would you mind coming back, Michael, for a second?
I would love nothing more. Thank you.
Okay. So we need to conclude today, but we're going to be back with Michael Buckley for a part 2. We've had so much fun here on What's Good with John and Joyce, and we'll be back again next episode.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, I heard you got engaged. Congratulations. Now it's time to book the DJ. And that's where we come in. I'm John Cadillac Seville with John Seville Entertainment, Wedding Wire, and the Knot 2026 Couples Choice Awards winner. You can call me directly if you'd like at 203-988-0658. We'll set up your free consultation. Or go to johncaddyman.com. That's 203-988-0658 or johncaddyman.com. We offer excellence, peace of mind, and a great time for all. John Seville Entertainment, a name you know and can trust.